because the cell, why Arthur Guyton was saying the root cause of all disease is a depletion of oxygen in the human body. You can't get it from breathing. Stress, the foods that we eat, the highly processed foods, all of the chemicals that are, believe it or not, they're in our waters. You can't get it out of the water that we drink. There are 70,000 new chemicals that have been introduced to our environment that are in our foods and waters since when my grandparents were alive. There's so many things that affect our oxygen levels. Obesity, diabetes. These are all diseases, again, caused by lack of nutrition or poor nutrition that comes from the foods that we eat. And we can talk about that in a bit if you'd like, about how the soil is stripped of those nutrients. All of these things tax the human body. And so the goal, of course, is to try to get the human body back up to its normal oxygen levels so that it can fight off disease, so that it can perform all its functions properly. One of the best ways is using oxygen supplementation. The research is there. We've done the research, both at independent laboratories and at universities around the world. The O2 drops do help increase the body's oxygen level. You can test it by a pulse oximeter. There are ways to prove this. Have your distributors and customers understand how remarkable, if they haven't grasped this, and we go through our daily activities, we take our bodies for granted. We don't even think how remarkable this organism is that houses our soul, houses our spirit, and does all the things that we do. We just take it for granted. The human body, if you were to actually go out and do the counting, which obviously impossible to do, it has 37 trillion, not billion, but trillion cells. And those cells all originated from one single cell. So when you start to think about that, oh my gosh, how did that happen? That happens literally with those cells having to have the right kind of nutrition, but oxygen in order to duplicate themselves every single time until they got to that 37 trillion. And yet every day, 50 billion cells die. So that's a lot of cells, and they have to be replaced. That can't be done without an adequate supply of oxygen. We've got 20 trillion red blood cells in our body that goes through those blood cells go through, based on at least what we've been able to determine, and science says, 100,000 miles of blood, of veins and arteries and capillaries in our body. They're traveling that. That's about, if you were to actually calculate it, that's about half the distance to the moon, or about 4 times around the Earth. That's how many, actually the number of miles that we have in this that our blood traverses. And the blood can do that about every 6 minutes. So that's pretty astounding when you think about that. And yet, every single one of those cells, those 20 trillion blood cells, they need oxygen. If they can't have oxygen and they can't deliver the oxygen to the cells, those cells in our body die. We've got, within every single one of our cells, when every one of those 37 trillion cells, there is a strand of remarkable peptides that we call DNA. Those DNA molecules, it's about 400 million in each of those cells, the nucleotides. Those contain 30 atoms. Now, you just start doing the math and you start seeing how remarkable it is. If you were to count all of those and you were to measure them, stretch them out, those DNA strands in all of the cells in our body, they would literally stretch about 15 billion miles long. That's about twice the diameter of our solar system, and that's in a single human body. Without oxygen, none of those DNA strands could possibly sustain itself, exist, and perform the functions that it needs. So you start thinking about how remarkable it is that to create every chemical bond, to create every new cell, to create every thought pattern that is in our brains, every memory, that all requires a constant supply of oxygen. And that's literally, it is the most important element not only in our planet, but literally in the universe. Without oxygen, there is no life. I can't stress how remarkable the O2 drops are, how they can change many lives. And as you pointed out, Dan, people should just give it a try. They have nothing to lose. They have everything to gain to help change their life from this day going forward. So thank you for allowing us to bless your company, and thank you for being a blessing to our company. And we look forward to many, many years and meeting many of your distributors hopefully in the future.
I really appreciate it. And there you have it, folks. You know, Dr. Krauss, thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions at all, simply get back to the person who invited you on this call. Find out how you can get this product. And again, just like Dr. Krauss said, this is something that every single person should, deserves, to at least give it a try. We take all the risk as the company. That's why we offer a 100% money-back guarantee to make sure that everybody's, satisfied and happy with this product. So, again, thanks, everybody, and I hope you have an absolutely incredible night.